Welcome to the Pozcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host,
Rona Pierce, live from Unleash US in Las Vegas. Welcome back, everyone, to the Pozcast. I am Rona Pierce, guest hosting, live here from Unleash, thanks to our friends at Fountain. And I'm so excited to be here with Jackye Clayton today. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So, Jackye is the founder of People Puzzles, but more than that, she's a TA leader whose work I've followed and admired for years. So I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you've been on both sides of HR tech as a buyer and as a product evangelist. What's been the most surprising lesson that you've learned about where trust breaks down?
Yes, that's a great question. I think it goes, what we're finding out. So for so long, HR was just gate kept. It was really hidden, like the actual work has been hidden. And so the trust issue from the full organization within HR happens automatically. I mean, as soon as you walk in, we can be best friends. Then I tell you that I work in HR, and then they don't want to be friends with you anymore.
Yeah.
We're like, we don't even work together. They're like, no, I don't like HR people.
Yeah.
And you also find out that there have all of these technologies that were coming primarily for one piece. But now, thanks to AI and the things that are happening, we're seeing a lot of products that have been produced by people that don't have a practitioner background, solving a problem that many people in HR didn't even know they had. That's another trust breakdown where we're like, no, this is actually a problem. This is actually a problem and you have it. And they're being like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And you don't know anything. So I've seen the trust breakdown, just organically, like systemically from being in HR by itself, but now coming together to say, it still hasn't fully trusted where I trust you to be able to do the functioning. But when you look at it, it's saying that they can. There's a lot that can be automated. We'll say that.
Do you think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of HR tech implementations fail to help even the teams that they need to help? Or is there another reason?
I think a lot of times the reason that it fails is because the person who purchases the product isn't necessarily the practitioner. And then trying to get, again, they have to recognize that this is a challenge and it has to be their challenge. I think the buyers buy for their personal problems, not necessarily for what's going on within the organization. And so once that is broken down, it's really hard to get people to continue to implement. I mean, change is really hard. Any kind of change is hard, but especially if you don't understand why we're making this change. Why is this important? Why is this necessary? I think a great example, I'm in my 50s, and I just remember we always grew up, everybody wanted to have a waterbed. In Florida, there was a place and it was called Waterbed Center. And there was a break. It's turned into Furniture World, but the one group decided that they wanted to stay with waterbeds. And we know where they are. They don't have a job. The ones that went to the furniture, it's like understanding those things, but change is hard.
It really is. As an executive who's making the decisions for purchasing that isn't a practitioner on the day-to-day, because executives are still practitioners. I like to make that distinction. How do you make sure to bring in the people that need to be at that table?
Right. So I think what's important is that you're doing understanding what you're hiring for, not just the things that are going on within the organization, but also understand the skills gap within your organization to hire for those things. See if it's one of the P's, it can be solved with a person, a program, or a product. So making sure that understanding that the whole team has an understanding that we need another person or we have a skills gap, understanding that together so that when you bring in, they know as an executive, you are looking to solve a very particular problem. And it can't be, we've heard it all week of, oh, we need to use AI. That's not a problem. And then also making sure that you bring people in throughout the process, starting small, testing it out before rolling it out, and building your champions within. So that's something else that I think people miss when you're going and buying and purchasing products, understanding that you should already know who your champion is going to be, and it should have a circle of influence inside the organization to be able to do it. I know this won't surprise you, but I was always asked, I was one of the person that, because I had audible gasp problem, where they would always bring me into the room and say, this is what we're about to announce, so that I didn't like fall out in front of the whole group. And it was always, I didn't realize they would make announcements previously, and then everyone would look at me to say, like, is this okay? Or is this not okay? So by doing that, we could put those things together. And so you might think about that within your own organization. Choose the circle of influence. Who are people looking to lead that change? It's not necessarily a title. And making sure that that person has buy-in. If they don't have buy-in, you might want to second guess if that's the right person for your organization or if that's the right product. Otherwise, there's not going to be buy-in.
And you touched a little on it with all this hype around AI. 'Cause
Yes.
I'm calling it hype right now.
Okay.
How do you make sure that what you're buying, how do you like validate that the tool is actually something that helps and it's not just something that's well marketed?
That's great. Now, I call them golf course decisions, where it's like we're just hanging out and someone says, oh, we have this, like it's a casual conversation. And then someone else says, oh, well, we better hurry up and we need to get that. That's usually your sign, right?
Mm.
That's your sign that you probably don't need it. Again, understand the problems that you have to solve. I mean, the AI, let's break it down. Like, it's like we talk about artificial intelligence. We know that there's human oversight, but let's just talk about what we're really doing right now. What we've been talking about has been optimization and automation. Right? And so when you think about this product should make me more efficient. So I'm going to use AI to speed up processes to have more productivity and become more efficient. When you put in a tool and now we are becoming less efficient because we're spending too much time having to learn and adopt this program, then you need to pull back because you're creating problems instead of solving problems. You're introducing more problems that you didn't have before you purchased this product, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have this hair dryer that's supposed to like straighten your hair, but it doesn't really straighten all of it. It just like burns it. But then it got really hot and then it burnt. Then I had to buy a spray so that the heat element wouldn't figure out my hair, right? And then it was like, got a little bit too wet. So now I'm purchasing, wait a minute, just get another product to straighten your hair. Like, what was the initial problem? And as you introduce all of these tools, you're creating more problems than you are, oh, look, I feel a heavy sigh from across the room. You're creating more problems by doing that. So that's where you have to really look to solve some of those things.
A lot of HR tech companies say they have AI.
Right.
I don't think.
Lies.
I don't think it's all AI. A lot of it is automation.
Right.
How can people, like, what questions should people be asking to know, is it really AI?
That's great. So I think there's really, first, you don't really have to know if it's AI or not. I mean, if you want AI for AI's sake because you told somebody you get AI, then ask the questions. But the other part is like, what are you trying to solve? Again, like if you just want to automate it, then don't worry what they call it. But the questions that you should ask is, what did you use to train this system? How are you mitigating for scaling for learning? They should be able to, can you introduce me to the team that built the AI and where did they come from? Because you don't know what you're purchasing, like, and what kind of biases and things are being introduced. And they're starting to put a lot more governance into these various systems and having third party like validate what's going to be happening. And there is potential disruption internally because of compliance, various laws that are going in, and you're going to be held liable for whatever comes out of that product. So asking those things are going to become really important so that you can talk to your the stakeholders or the people that are using the product and letting them know what's happening and being a lot more transparent, letting people know that you're going to be transparent and that you're going to partner. You should be partnering with these products and scaling as they grow.
Hey everybody, Adam here from thePOZcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the team at Fountain. Fountain is your full-service frontline workforce management platform. I have to tell you, Fountain's offerings are some of the most robust I've seen for any product in the space. They offer full solutions for hiring, managing, and retention. They are truly a one-stop shop focused on the frontline workforce. They also create informative content using their data. For example, they analyzed a bunch of data from their fast food chains and created a trend report you could download now on their website. They also have a new ebook out called Frontline Voices. There's a lot to dive into. Certainly check it out. And you could learn more at fountain.com, linked in the show notes. Thank you.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Through the Reset Room, you help a lot of people through career transitions, and you do it differently because it's a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring.
Yes.
How do you think that differs, or why do you think that's better than just traditional career coaching and advice that's out there?
Well, I think like 80% of the people in the Reset Room are HR practitioners and talent acquisition leaders. And so there's a couple of different things. One is that we're all learning at the same time. Everyone's going to go back somewhere in some facet, but it's like understanding the capacity of where we are because it's moving really fast. Mm-hmm. We know that with all of the technology going together, it's moving fast, and we're all hearing all of these various things. So we're kind of growing as this technology is evolving. So it's been interesting on as someone looking for a job, what AI products do they have that I might have to be ready for when I go back to work? And so having the peer-to-peer coaching is good because we all are exposed to different types of technology and different experiences. And so we're sharing all of that experiences because we can see it clearer. Or I heard about a product that does that, or I heard about this organization was looking for these particular skills. So everybody can bring those things together because everybody's going to go back to work in the same field, you know? So I think it's important to do it. And I also appreciate it because it's other HR people leaders doing peer-to-peer coaching rather than having someone outside of the industry coaching and saying various things. It's important to know the changes that are going on throughout the whole agency than just having a traditional coach. I mean, in my humble opinion.
What have you learned about career transitions that contradicts traditional career advice out there?
Listen, well, one is that, and this is going to be hard for people to hear. One that I'm learning is that organizations really don't care about candidate experience. That contradicts. People will always talk about candidate. They don't care because right now they're going to move faster and being more productive. If you go, we just listen to like the opening keynote. It's understanding that like, oh, there's full systems. People are getting hired full systems and never talking to a human, right? And so I think that's kind of contradictory to what's going on there. But also it's AI is fighting with AI now.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm bad about, I always shout everybody out, not on purpose. I was like looking at ladders, and I haven't looked at ladders in like 20 years. They had a thing called Apply for me. And then using Teal can customize your resume, right? And your cover letter. It customizes a resume for every single job. And then there's another thing that automatically applies for all these jobs. So I'm like, so you're applying for 300 jobs. And you know that your resume was customized and you know that you're qualified and not getting phone calls. I'm seeing that a lot.
Yeah.
And then when I talk to the other transition people who are looking at the organization, they're finding, that's my sister, when they're finding out that there's thousands and thousands of people applying for jobs right now.
Yeah, no, it's wild right now. The last rec that I worked was in 2023, and within 10 minutes, and it was an HR role.
Right.
And within 10 minutes, I had hundreds of resumes. I'm like, this isn't like no one read that job description.
That's right.
That was AI.
That's
was
right.
something doing it. And I mean, I'm happy that we're in this AI versus AI era.
It is, and it's like, well, and people need to know that that's what it looks like. And so what can you offer to the table? And so you're going to have to communicate those things. It's beyond what's going on in paper, whether it's doing a podcast. Like when you see, look at it's not social media anymore. It is your resume. It is your persona. It is what sets you apart from everybody else, because everyone on paper is going to look the same, and the ATS is going to pull all these people to the front, and it's just as fast as you can go. That's the way. 10 minutes, you said? It's probably down to 7 minutes.
I know, that's where we are. So I said 2023. I'm sure right now it's like way faster. It's like no one read it. They didn't read this.
Right.
They'll read it if they get an interview invite, I hope.
Well, and they haven't, the other part that they haven't considered in talking about being on both sets of the aisle, I'm allowed to apply to 300 jobs today, but I'm also getting 300 rejections. Yeah. We haven't talked about the mental health and how all of this technology and what it's doing to those things. Also seeing that people are actually talking to their AI as if they're a friend or a peer, and what is that going to happen to the socialization and relationships at work. At the same time, we're asking people to come to work, and also we want people to engage, but we're giving them tools so they don't have to engage with each other. So it's fascinating, right?
It's fascinating. I even saw someone talk about, oh, you don't need a therapist anymore. You can use ChatGPT. I was like, absolutely not,
right.
People, come on.
I call my ChatGPT Larry, and my husband goes, you know, that's just you, right? I was like, oh my God, Larry's so smart. They're like, okay, first of all, Larry's not real. Second of all, you taught Larry. I was like, and he's brilliant. Look at that. Did you know within ChatGPT right now, they just announced it within the last week, they figured it was a yes man,
yeah,
right? And that you can turn off to like disagree. And it was making, so like, listen, people are going to fight.
I keep fighting with my ChatGPT and saying like, are you just being nice?
And they're like, no, you're perfect the way you are. Thanks, Larry. I thought that too.
I'm going to have to name my ChatGPT.
Yes.
So let's go into quick fire questions. Whatever comes to mind first. So what's the boldest career move that you've ever made that paid off?
Oh, gosh. Probably getting into recruiting. In the first place, I was a business analyst previous to that. And then I went into being a technology recruiter.
Amazing, amazing. What's one question that HR teams aren't asking vendors that they absolutely should be?
I don't think they're asking enough of the vendor to give them to prove the information that they're having. They're not asking how they are proving the data and the stats that they're giving them. I don't think they're asking them that.
What's the most transformative piece of career advice that you received and adopted?
I think it would talk about like what it's received. It was understanding that the only reason that I could have imposter syndrome is because I'm actually doing the work. If I wasn't doing the work, I would not be able to be an imposter. So then I'm like, oh, that means I'm actually doing something. I used to think that it wasn't, but that's what I did. That actually. So I've implemented that when I think about it.
That's great advice. Any career advice that you've ignored and you were happy you did?
Yes. Someone told me that of what I had to keep doing, of like I had to like tone it down and humble myself. Absolutely not.
That's not what we do.
We're not doing that.
Nope. Not
never.
Doing that.
Not never. Thanks, Larry.
I feel like I need to ask more about Larry.
I'll introduce you to Larry sometime.
So I really enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything that you think listeners need to know that I haven't asked you?
I just think, remember community, going back and doing community and finding those things and reaching out, just making sure that you're making use of your network to build out, because times are hard and it's changing, but we can do it if we're all together.
Love that. Thank you so much. Where can listeners connect with you?
Oh, Jackye Clayton. I spell it funny. It's Jackye. I'm Jackye Clayton on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the pod today.
Well, thanks for having me. I loved it.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the Pozcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thePOZcast.com.